How is it going, Professor? My name is Dan Wynn. I'll be going over human capital within the United States Army, different facets of human resources. So, when it comes to recruiting, the United States Army has a recruiting command, also known as USARAC, responsible for the overall recruitment efforts of the Army. The responsibility of recruiting across the Army has a strategic importance of readiness and deterrence against potential conflicts across the globe. However, finding talent in a very competitive environment requires benefits that beats the competition and entices youths to join the ranks. With an annual mission of 61,000 recruits, this is the first year that the United States Army has actually achieved its mission since the COVID pandemic. Some key steps that USAREC took to increase recruitment consists of the change from a two-star command to a three-star command, which brought in a more robust, experienced staff and and funding and authority to implement rapid change as environment evolved. Innovative programs that were previously met with bureaucratic approval were truncated and streamlined because of the new three-star command, such as the Army's FAT Camp to help applicants who wanted to enlist but did not meet the physical standards. Another big step in the right direction was recently just passed the 14.5 pay increase for the ranks of E1 to E4 for enlisted soldiers, rivaling civilian pay. This new pay increase will potentially draw in more talent to the Army and other branches of service, in addition to the standard benefits package associated with the military, such as the VA home loan, medical, dental, and veteran preference for jobs. Next, the Army is building regional headquarters to bolster relationships with local leaders. This effort is to restructure USAREC and apply human capital at places that bridges gaps in major population centers or between recruiting headquarters where more detailed coordination is required. For the Army to continue to recruit talented Americans, we must continue to transform recruiting efforts to entice youth on potential of what the Army has to offer. Some key bullets noted in front of you is just the data of how many people are employed for this specific mission and the importance behind it. Next, after we talked about recruiting, we talk about developing soldiers. So, breaking it down with three different ranks, we have enlisted officers and warrant officers. So, the Army uses the Army Leader Development Model, consisting of three pillars to develop soldiers into leaders. The first pillar is institutional training and educational or professional military education. These are gateways for soldiers to attend academic training as they progress through the ranks. Each institutional level is designed to train the soldier for the next level of duties and responsibilities, which typically involves more soldiers, more challenging roles and positions. So if you look at each bullet under the enlisted officers and warrant officers, those are the schoolings as they attend as they progress through. The second pillar is the operational assignments where soldiers will typically reside in a position for 2 to 3 years before transferring to another role. This is designed to diversify the soldier's experience by gaining experience from different organizations and locations. And then last is self-development, which is done through either academic education outside of the Army, physical fitness, or mentorship program. The Army focuses on soldiers' current strength by their rank and potential to promote with their peers, behind peers, or ahead of peers. The next slide is retention. So within the Army, we have a specific job known as Army Career Counselors, whose purpose is to retain soldiers within the Army through the above incentives, while recommending career progressions. Soldiers may have many reasons to exit service. However, career counselors can leverage certain incentives to entice soldiers from exiting. Depending on the Army's demands and the needs at the time, the soldiers may be eligible for remarkable incentives and may have the options for multiple incentives at the same time. Some incentives listed in front of you is a retention bonus for up to 50,000 for 6 years, choice of duty stations, changing of occupational specialty, stabilization, which is one of my favorite that I have leveraged to stay in the same to homestead and stay in the same position, attendance of specific schools of choice, and assignment to overseas area of choice. Next, as we kind of peel back the layers, we look at the pros and cons with recruiting and retention. So when we look at recruitment, equal employment opportunities, detailed career map, financial and medical benefits, college enlistment bonuses, and diversity. So recruitment is purely if you can meet the standards. Beyond that, it's open for everybody. Uh, the challenges with recruiting is the challenging work-life balance, uprooting life if you're married or if you've been in the same town since birth. It's kind of hard to convince people to give that up. Unpredictability, just because of global events, and then separation from loved ones because of training demands and relocation requirements from the military. Now we look at retention, the pros. It's obviously more efficient to retain a soldier than it is to recruit a new one. That level of experience helps drive readiness. Stability benefits, such as the ones previously highlighted with incentives. Now we look at cons. A lot of people tend to get out because of the tough training and deployment cycles. It's very high tempo, and depending on the organization you reside in, you could be gone for 1 year and back in the stateside for 9 months before being redeployed again. High stress environment because of the unpredictability. Competitive job markets. Leaders who leave the army bring a lot of experience with personalities, interpersonal relationships, and the civilian market leverages that. And then the last con is they could use the experience, especially on the technical side, to be leveraged elsewhere. Looking at the current strengths of the Army, we have it lies within three distinct areas. The first is diversity. The Army composed of many different occupations spanning from different religions, cultures, ethnic groups, and experiences across the United States. The Army strictly recruits in an objective manner. The individual must be physically, mentally, and academically fit to join. Beyond that, it's a level playing field for anyone to join the Army. The second, this is one of the few organizations where you're paid to train and become expert in your craft. The benefits in the Army is almost incomparable to the competition because of how robust it is. Not to mean there are some benefits that's only exclusive to the military, such as the VA home loan or the Service Member Civil Relief Act that reduces all interest rates to 6%, in addition to potential reimbursement for debt that exceeds 6%. Last, another big strength is how diverse the occupational specialties are within the Army. Within 6 categories resides over 150 distinct jobs in the Army that a person can select from, with certain bonuses associated with the job that are in demand or attempt to qualify for. The Army can highlight these strengths by sharing stories of soldiers who enlisted to reach out to the population on social media. This can be a tool that attracts similar people who are questioning if they can do it because of their diverse background. Promoting Christian values, plan for developing and integrating human resources specialists with Christian worldview principles is leveraging uh, with the Army's chaplain to discuss how Christian values can help promote a positive and accepting workplace culture. Through forgiveness, compassion, and respect, the Army S1, also known as Human Resource Section, can be patient as the in-process arriving soldiers update files, pay inquiries, or other functions. Dr. Lawler, a distinguished professor of business at the University of Southern California Marshall School of Business in LA, states that human resource department can help everyone become better leaders by improving communication skills, setting expectations for the staff, and motivating people. By creating policy letters with Christian values of acceptance and servitude, employees are promised that HR representatives will treat each person in a professional manner. Next, there are 17 branches within the Army. Some recommendations to help improve recruitment numbers are allowing the applicants to pick specific jobs. There are two branches in the Army where soldiers are not allowed to pinpoint specific jobs they want in the Army, which is the infantry branch and field artillery. You pick the field, and then depending on the needs, um, they will assign you the roles within the infantry or field artillery. This creates a dilemma as there is a probability of serving a contract and learning a job that the person may not have the desire to do. By removing this option, it creates a better satisfaction and predictability for the applicant enlisting. Additionally, information about what duties the job entails helps managers decide what sort of people to recruit and hire. Recruiters can be better at selling the job if it's guaranteed. If not, the applicant is taking some risk and may deter them from filling out a specific vacancy. Next, there's a trend of people who enlist and wish they could reclass the occupation prior to graduating because they discover various aspects of the Army. the Army that they found more enticing. By affording this opportunity while incurring more service obligation or loss of bonus, soldiers may feel more satisfied as they can pivot the initial stages of their Army career before planning routes. Basically, what I'm trying to convey is I've witnessed this when I first enlisted 18 years ago. A lot of soldiers go through basic training and then advanced individual training, and as they learn about the Army, they wish they could dovetail to a different branch or a different position just because of awareness. Last, to meet the needs of the Army and the applicant, allowing the enlisted person to pick where they want to go. Um, this goes back to the original resistance of why people don't want to join is because of that unpredictability. By providing options of potentially due to the location, some applicants um, may want to join for one term, which is a win-win situation for the Army and for the applicant for getting where they want to be and the job they want to do. Um, by creating this option, the soldier can fill a critical vacancy the Army needs for the short time. So, recommendation to improve development. Professional military education is often outdated and severely tied to military doctrine. Passing courses in the military is tethered to memorization of study materials versus training the mind to critically think, collaboration with others, or leveraging modern technology and innovations to solve problems. An option to improve developing soldiers while attracting talent is collaborations with civilian institutions, creating short-term, cross-functional teams with Army leaders and civilians to share ideas such as human resources and talent management to generate new potential options. The second is creating scenarios to cognitively navigate through problems or utilizing case studies from historical lessons to see if it still applies in modern times. And then third, the Army is wildly diverse with people from different religions, ethnic backgrounds, and experience. Using virtual or artificial technology to generate complex scenarios to augment institutional learning will create a more challenging environment. Bottom line, recommendation for the military development, especially with specifically with professional military education, is branching away from PowerPoint and more tabletop discussions on how to train the mind and cognitively approach situations. Recommendations to improve retention. The issue with the Army is how fast everyone moves out of position, specifically churn rates. As I previously mentioned, in 3 years, a whole organization is a new one because of people are in position for 2 to 3 years before they move. What happens is all the experience, lessons learned, and continuity dissolves due to churn rates. Most soldiers exit the service because of unpredictability, rapid deployments, and transfers from one duty location to another. To improve retention rates, the Army must institute better win-win situations. Homesteading is an option for most soldiers. Being able to stay at a duty location for 7 years for stability, such as children at school, spouses working, and better rapport with the organization, is essential for comfort. Providing options to stabilize for more than the traditional 1 year will increase retention rates. Another big incentive is providing opportunities for soldiers to take a knee and have a break from training or overseas deployments. Offering assignments such as instructing, recruiting, or training at the 5 to 6 year mark will entice soldiers to make the Army the career because you'll be over 10 years of service upon completion, which soldiers who are in greater than 10 years will eventually do 20 years and retire because you're basically halfway there. Last, my biggest recommendation for overall change. Um, so IPSE is a new program, the Integrated Personnel and Pay System that the Army instituted about 18 months ago. It's essentially empowers soldiers to be their own human resource manager. They can update their records, do pay inquiries, look at the profile, and everything else. So based on what I've learned during this course, the responsibility lies there's a lot of responsibility that lies under the human resources umbrella. The biggest recommended change that could be applied to the Army is transitioning from reactive to proactive human resources. So, as I previously mentioned, being proactive, we could use IPSE instead of going to the actual S1 shop where the Army human resources reside and doing paper inquiries. So 3 changes I would make for IPSE because it is a new system to make it more initiative taking and leveraging data is to um, have a help page and links to frequency asked questions. You could save both time for the soldier and the HR rep. So every time you do an action at IPSE, there's still a human resource representative in the loop that vets the data and actually actions what needs to be done. Next, the website is designed for the Army at large. Having the ability for the organization to customize a page can help tailor reports to meet the unit's specific need. Um, if the custom page were linked to each soldier's email, the organization would be easier for the chain of command to create forms for soldiers to update any records at the moment's notice. So IPSA is an Army program. Having the ability to tailor it to the specific organization can be beneficial, especially when it comes to um, creating the homepage and directing soldiers and where to go to update certain parts of the portfolio. And then last, providing 24/7 services to the website would be a wonderful addition. Soldiers are traveling around the clock, and sometimes immediate support is required to aid with emergency leave, transportation, or records update before board because of poor connectivity due to deployed locations. Having a robust help center can elevate strain on the organic human resource department. Bottom line, we deploy everywhere, and promotions don't stop. So having a 24/7 help desk or touch point to help soldiers continually update their records and the human resource aspect would be greatly beneficial. That is all I have. Thank you for your time, Professor, and have a good day.